At 22, I graduated summa cum laude with 2 degrees while working 3 jobs. My twin sister got a $15,000 Europe trip. I got a $10 coffee card and a lecture about gratitude. But let me back up, because this story isn't just about graduation day. It's about 22 years of being invisible in my own family. My name is Renee Dalton, and I have a twin sister named Jenna. We shared the same birthday, the same DNA, and absolutely nothing else. From the moment we could walk, our parents made it crystal clear who the star of the family was. Jenna was everything I wasn't. Outgoing where I was quiet, charming where I was awkward. She lit up every room she entered while I seemed to fade into the wallpaper. And our parents, Elaine and Gregory Dalton, ate it up. Growing up, our living room looked like a shrine to Jenna. Dance recital photos covered every wall. Her trophies lined the mantelpiece. Her report cards were magneted to the refrigerator with gold star stickers. Meanwhile, my science fair ribbons got shoved into desk drawers. My honor roll certificates disappeared into filing cabinets. My piano recital programs never made it past the kitchen counter. I remember one particular moment when I was 12. I had just won first place at the regional science fair for my project on water purification. I was so excited to tell my parents. I ran into the house, clutching my blue ribbon, practically bouncing with joy. "Mom! Dad! I won first place!" My mother barely looked up from her phone. She was scrolling through comments on Jenna's latest dance video. "That's nice, honey," she mumbled. But when Jenna walked in 5 minutes later complaining about a hangnail, suddenly Mom was all attention. "Oh no, sweetie. Let me get the first aid kit." That's when I learned my first lesson about love in the Dalton household. It was currency. And I was always broke. The favoritism wasn't even subtle. When Jenna needed new dance costumes, somehow the family budget miraculously stretched to cover hundreds of dollars. When I needed supplies for my science projects, I heard lectures about being financially responsible and learning the value of money. Jenna got a car for her 16th birthday. I got a lecture about public transportation building character. Jenna's friends were always welcome for sleepovers and pool parties. My friends were too loud or too messy or somehow always inconvenient. But here's the thing that really messed with my head. My parents weren't monsters. They weren't abusive in any obvious way. They fed me, clothed me, and put a roof over my head. They just loved conditionally. And their conditions were simple. Be like Jenna. The problem was, I couldn't be like Jenna. I tried. God knows I tried. I took dance classes for 2 years, stumbling through routines while she glided like she was born for the stage. I tried to be more social, more bubbly, more everything she was, but it felt like wearing clothes that didn't fit, so I found my own path. If I couldn't be the golden child, I'd be the perfect child. I threw myself into academics. I volunteered at the library. I tutored younger kids. I worked part-time jobs to pay for my own things. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I worked hard enough, if I achieved enough, if I proved my worth through pure effort, they'd finally see me. I was wrong. When I got accepted to Weston University with a full academic scholarship, you know what my dad said? "Well, at least one of you is practical." That was it. No celebration. No proud parent moment. Just a backhanded compliment that somehow made my biggest achievement feel small. Meanwhile, when Jenna got accepted to community college, they threw her a party, invited the whole neighborhood, posted about it on social media with captions like, "So proud of our brilliant daughter." I wasn't even mentioned in the post, but I kept believing that graduation would be different. 4 years of maintaining a perfect GPA while working multiple jobs to support myself. 4 years of making the dean's list every semester. 4 years of proving that the quiet twin had something valuable to offer. I thought graduation day would finally be my moment, the day they'd realize what they'd been overlooking all these years. I was so naive. The morning of graduation, I woke up with butterflies in my stomach. Not nervous butterflies, excited ones. I had graduated summa cum laude with degrees in both data analytics and psychology. The dean had personally congratulated me. I was being recognized for academic excellence. This was it. This was my moment to shine. I had no idea that in just a few hours, a $10 gift card would shatter everything I believed about family, love, and my place in the world. What would you have done if you were the invisible twin in your family? Have you ever felt overlooked by the people who were supposed to love you most? Drop a comment below and hit that subscribe button, because what happened next will make you question everything you think you know about family loyalty. The scholarship letter arrived on a Tuesday in March of my senior year of high school. I remember the exact day because it was the same day Jenna posted a TikTok that went viral, something about her morning skincare routine that somehow got 2 million views. I was sitting at the kitchen table, hands shaking as I opened the envelope from Weston University. Full academic scholarship. 4 years, completely paid for. Room, board, tuition, everything. I stared at that letter for probably 10 minutes, reading it over and over again. This was it. This was my ticket to proving myself, not just to my parents, but to myself. "Mom!" I called out, practically vibrating with excitement. "Mom, you have to see this!" She was in the living room with Dad, both of them hunched over Jenna's phone, watching her view count climb. "Look at this," Mom was saying to Dad. 2.3 million views now. Our little star is going to be famous. "Mom," I said again, walking into the room with the letter clutched in my hands. "I got the scholarship, the full ride to Weston University." She glanced up briefly. "Oh, that's wonderful, honey." Then immediately turned back to the phone. "Jenna, you should do another video while you're trending." Dad didn't even look up. I stood there for a moment, holding this life-changing piece of paper, watching my parents celebrate my sister's skincare routine like she'd just won an Oscar. The scholarship that I'd worked 4 years to earn, maintaining a 4.0 GPA while working at the grocery store, and tutoring kids after school, got less attention than Jenna's face wash. That night at dinner, I tried again. "So, I was thinking," I said, "maybe we could celebrate the scholarship? Maybe go out to dinner or something?" "Of course we're proud of you," Mom said, not looking up from her salad. "But scholarships are really just about being practical. It's not like you had a choice. We couldn't afford to pay for college anyway." Meanwhile, they'd already started planning Jenna's gap year. She wanted to focus on building her social media presence before starting community college. They were fully supportive, even offering to let her live at home rent-free while she pursued her dreams. The double standard was suffocating. Over the next 4 years at Weston, I threw myself into everything. I wasn't just maintaining my scholarship, I was exceeding every expectation. Dean's List every semester, research assistant positions, volunteer work with underprivileged kids. I was building a resume that would make any parent proud. But every time I called home with good news, the conversation somehow shifted to Jenna. Her latest post, her new brand partnership, her growing follower count. "That's great about making Dean's List again," Mom would say. "Did you see Jenna's collaboration with that makeup company? She's really making something of herself." I started calling home less and less. By my junior year, I was working 3 jobs: tutoring, research assistant, and weekend shifts at a local cafe. Not because I had to, but because staying busy meant less time to think about how alone I felt. My scholarship covered the basics, but I wanted to graduate debt-free and maybe even save some money. My parents had no idea how hard I was working. They never asked about my jobs, my classes, or my plans after graduation. But they could tell you exactly how many followers Jenna had gained that week. The worst part wasn't the neglect. It was the way they talked about my achievements, like they were somehow less valuable than Jenna's. When I made the Dean's List, I was just being practical. When Jenna got 1,000 new followers, she was building her brand. When I got selected for a prestigious research program, I was always so serious. When Jenna posted a dance video, she was bringing joy to people's lives. Everything I did was minimized, dismissed, or ignored. Everything she did was celebrated, shared, and praised. But I kept believing that graduation would be different. 4 years of proving myself had to count for something, right? 4 years of academic excellence, of building a future, of becoming someone they could be proud of. I was about to learn that some people will never see your worth, no matter how brightly you shine. And sometimes, the people who hurt you most are the ones who are supposed to love you unconditionally. The morning of graduation, I woke up with hope in my heart and butterflies in my stomach. I had no idea I was about to receive the most devastating gift of my life. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. on graduation day, 2 hours before my alarm was set to go off. My stomach was doing backflips, but not from nerves, from pure excitement. Today was the day I'd been working toward for 4 years. Today, I would walk across that stage as the summa cum laude graduate with 2 degrees. Today, my parents would finally see what their quiet daughter had accomplished. I had it all planned out in my head. They'd arrive early, maybe bring flowers. Dad would take pictures of me in my cap and gown. Mom would post something on social media about being proud of both her daughters. For once, just once, I'd be the center of attention in a good way. I spent an hour getting ready, making sure everything was perfect. I pressed my graduation gown twice. I practiced my walk across the stage in my bedroom mirror. I even wrote a little speech in my head for when they congratulated me afterward. Thank you for always believing in me, I'd say. Even though they hadn't, even though they'd barely noticed. I was ready to pretend it had all been worth it. My phone buzzed at 7 a.m., a text from Mom. Running late, Jenna needed to stop for coffee and do her makeup for photos. See you there. Of course, even on my graduation day, Jenna's needs came first. I drove to campus alone, watching other families arrive together, laughing and taking pictures. Parents carrying bouquets of flowers, siblings wearing Proud Sister t-shirts, grandparents with cameras ready. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, watching all these families celebrate together, and tried not to feel sorry for myself. This was my day. Nothing could ruin it. The ceremony started at 10 a.m. At 10:15, I spotted them in the crowd, Mom, Dad, and Jenna, squeezing into seats near the back. Jenna was holding her phone up, clearly filming herself with the graduation ceremony as her backdrop. Even from a distance, I could see Mom wasn't paying attention to the ceremony. She was looking at Jenna's phone screen, probably helping her get the perfect angle for her supporting my sister content. But I didn't care. They were here. That's what mattered. When they called my name, Renee Dalton, summa cum laude, double major in data analytics and psychology. I walked across that stage with my head held high. I heard some applause from the crowd, but I couldn't pick out my family's voices. Later, I found out why. Jenna had been filming a boomerang of herself at that exact moment. After the ceremony, I found them near the parking lot. Mom was holding a small bouquet of flowers, grocery store flowers, still in the plastic wrapper. Dad was scrolling through his phone. Jenna was editing her graduation day content. "Congratulations, honey," Mom said, giving me a quick hug. The flowers stayed in her other hand. I realized they weren't for me. "Thanks for coming," I said, trying to keep the disappointment out of my voice. "Of course we came," Dad said, finally looking up from his phone. "Wouldn't miss it." But I could tell he was distracted. They all were. "Should we take some pictures?" I asked, hopefully. "Oh yes," Mom said, suddenly animated. She handed the flowers to Jenna and pulled out her phone. "Jenna, get in there with your sister." Jenna sighed dramatically, but posed next to me. Mom took exactly 3 photos before Jenna complained that the lighting wasn't good for her skin tone. That's probably enough, Mom said, putting her phone away. 3 photos, for my college graduation. I'd seen Jenna's high school graduation album. It had over 200 pictures. So, I said, trying to salvage the moment. Want to grab lunch to celebrate? Actually, Dad said, checking his watch. We should probably head home soon. Jenna has a brand collaboration call at 2 p.m. It's with a really big company, Jenna added, not looking up from her phone. This could be huge for my career. My graduation lunch was canceled for Jenna's business call. Maybe next weekend? Mom suggested, but I could tell she was just being polite. Sure, I said. Next weekend. We all knew next weekend would never come. As we walked toward the parking lot, Mom suddenly stopped. Oh, I almost forgot. We brought you girls something. She reached into her purse and pulled out 2 wrapped boxes. My heart jumped. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was when they'd show me they'd been paying attention all along. For our beautiful daughters, Mom announced, her voice full of warmth. She handed Jenna the larger box first. I had no idea that in the next 5 minutes everything I believed about my family was about to crumble into pieces. Jenna tore into her wrapping paper like a kid on Christmas morning. The box was elegant, white with a silver ribbon that probably cost more than my textbooks. Inside was a leather-bound travel journal, the expensive kind with gold-edged pages. But that wasn't the real gift. Tucked inside the journal was an envelope. Jenna opened it and gasped. Actually gasped. "Oh my God!" she squealed, jumping up and down. "Mom, Dad, are you serious?" She pulled out what looked like a printed itinerary. Her hands were shaking as she read it out loud. 3 weeks in Europe. London, Paris, Rome, Barcelona. Her voice got higher with each city. First-class flights, 5-star hotels. Oh my God, this is incredible. Mom and Dad were beaming like they'd just handed her the keys to the kingdom. "We thought you deserved the world," Mom said, pulling Jenna into a tight hug. "You've worked so hard building your brand, creating content, inspiring people. This trip will give you amazing material for your platforms." "And think of the networking opportunities," Dad added. "You'll meet influencers from all over Europe." Jenna was crying happy tears. Actual tears of joy streaming down her face. "This must have cost a fortune," she said. "Don't worry about that," Dad said, waving his hand dismissively. "You're worth every penny." I stood there watching this scene unfold, my own wrapped box feeling heavier in my hands. The contrast was already obvious. Her box had been twice the size of mine. But I tried to stay optimistic. Maybe they'd gotten me something different but equally thoughtful. Maybe a laptop for graduate school, or professional clothes for job interviews, or even just something that showed they understood who I was. "Your turn, Renee," Mom said, turning to me with that same bright smile. I unwrapped my box carefully. It was small, about the size of a jewelry box, but lighter, much lighter. Inside was a single envelope, not the thick, expensive kind that had held Jenna's itinerary. This was just a regular white envelope, the kind you'd use to mail a bill. I opened it with trembling fingers. A $10 Starbucks gift card fell out. That was it, a $10 gift card. But wait, there was also a note, written in Mom's handwriting on a piece of notebook paper, to remind you to stay grounded and grateful. Love, Mom and Dad. I stared at it for a long moment, sure I was missing something. Maybe there was another envelope. Maybe this was a joke, and the real gift was coming. But no. Mom and Dad were looking at me expectantly, waiting for my reaction. Jenna had stopped crying and was watching me with curious eyes. "Well?" Mom prompted. "What do you think?" What did I think? I thought I was having a nightmare. I thought this had to be some kind of mistake. My twin sister, had just received a $15,000 trip to Europe. I had received a $10 coffee card and a lecture about gratitude. It's, I started, then stopped. What was I supposed to say? We know it's not as flashy as Jenna's gift, Dad said, but we thought you needed something more meaningful. Meaningful. A $10 gift card was meaningful. The thing is, Mom continued, Jenna's gift is an experience. Yours is a lesson. A lesson. On my college graduation day, after 4 years of perfect grades and working 3 jobs, they were giving me a lesson. We've noticed you can be a little... Mom paused, searching for the right word. Intense. Always so focused on achievements and recognition. We thought this would help remind you that life isn't about how much you get. It's about being grateful for what you have. I felt like I'd been slapped. They were lecturing me about being grateful while handing my sister a European vacation. Jenna's gift celebrates her creativity and hard work, Dad added. Yours teaches you humility. Humility. They were teaching me humility by giving me $10 while giving her $15,000. Jenna was looking uncomfortable now. Even she seemed to realize how messed up this was. Maybe we could, she started to say. No, Mom interrupted. This is perfect. Renee needs to learn that happiness doesn't come from material things or external validation. Right, honey? She was looking at me expectantly, waiting for me to agree. Waiting for me to smile and thank them for this valuable lesson in gratitude. And you know what? I did. I smiled. I nodded. I said, "Thank you. This is very thoughtful." Because that's what I'd been trained to do my entire life. Accept whatever scraps they threw my way and be grateful for them. We took pictures after that. Me holding my $10 gift card, Jenna clutching her Europe itinerary. In the photos, we're both smiling, but if you look closely at my eyes, you can see something breaking behind them. That night, after they dropped me off at my apartment, I sat on my bed staring at that gift card for hours. $10. After 22 years of being their daughter, after 4 years of academic excellence, after graduating summa cum laude with 2 degrees, I was worth $10 to them. But it wasn't really about the money. It was about what it represented. It represented every time they'd chosen her over me, every time they'd dismissed my achievements, every time they'd made me feel invisible in my own family. That $10 gift card was the final proof that I would never be enough for them. So I made a decision that night. A decision that would change everything. I was done trying to earn their love. After the gift exchange, we had to take family photos. You know, for the memories. I stood there holding my $10 gift card while Jenna clutched her Europe itinerary. The photographer, some random dad mom had asked, kept saying, "Smile bigger and look happy." I smiled. God help me, I smiled like my heart wasn't breaking into 1,000 pieces. "Beautiful family," the photographer said, snapping away. "You girls are so lucky to have such generous parents." Lucky. Right. In every photo, I'm smiling. But if you knew what to look for, you could see it in my eyes, something dying behind them. 22 years of hoping, of believing that maybe this time would be different, finally giving up. Mom posted the photos on Facebook that same night. The caption read, "So proud of our graduate girls. Jenna's off to explore Europe and Renee's learning valuable life lessons. Different paths, same love." Different paths, same love, the comments poured in. "What an amazing family. Both girls are so blessed. You're such wonderful parents." Nobody asked why one blessed daughter got $15,000 and the other got 10. That night, alone in my apartment, I sat on my bed staring at that gift card. The note was still attached, to remind you to stay grounded and grateful. Grounded and grateful. For 22 years, I'd been both. I'd been grateful for scraps while watching them feast. I'd stayed grounded while they lifted Jenna to the clouds. I was done being grateful for being ignored, done staying grounded while being stepped on. I opened my laptop and started looking at apartments 2 towns over. Places where nobody knew the Dalton family. Places where I could disappear completely. By 3 a.m., I'd found one. A small place with cracked walls and thin doors, but it was mine. I could move in next week. I didn't pack that night. I didn't write goodbye letters. I didn't plan some dramatic confrontation. I just decided to vanish. Sometimes the loudest statement you can make is complete silence. I moved out on a Tuesday morning while they were all at Jenna's brand collaboration meeting. No goodbye notes, no forwarding address, just silence. The apartment was everything theirs wasn't. Small, imperfect, and completely mine. Cracked walls that I could paint any color I wanted. A dripping sink that was my problem to fix. Thin doors that nobody would walk through uninvited. For the first time in 22 years, I felt free. My phone started buzzing around noon, Mom calling, then Dad, then Jenna. I let them all go to voicemail. Renee, where are you? Your room is empty. Call us back. Honey, if this is about the graduation gift, we can talk about it. Renee, Mom's freaking out. Just call us, okay? I deleted the messages without listening to all of them. Meanwhile, I threw myself into my new job at Morrison Analytics. No more splitting my attention between work and family drama. No more wondering if they'd finally notice my achievements. Just pure focus on building something that was mine. Within 6 months, I'd been promoted. Within a year, promoted again. Turns out, when you're not constantly seeking approval from people who'll never give it, you can accomplish incredible things. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own mental health? What would you do if the people who were supposed to love you most made you feel invisible? Drop a comment below and hit subscribe, because what happened next shocked everyone, including me. Back home, life went on like I'd never existed. Jenna's Europe posts flooded social media. Living my best life thanks to the most amazing parents, she captioned a photo from the Eiffel Tower. The comments were full of praise for Elaine and Gregory Dalton, the loving parents who raised such successful daughters. But people started asking questions. Where's your twin sister? Why isn't Renee in any of these family posts? The cracks in their perfect image were starting to show. 2 years after I disappeared, I was running the entire data analytics department at Morrison. My salary had tripled. My apartment had upgraded from cracked walls to a downtown loft with floor-to-ceiling windows. But the real victory wasn't the money or the promotions. It was the peace. No more walking on eggshells. No more wondering if today would be the day they finally saw me. No more competing with a ghost for scraps of attention. I was thriving, and people noticed. Old high school friends started reaching out on LinkedIn. Renee, I saw your promotion announcement. Your parents must be so proud. That's when things got interesting. Actually, I'd reply, I haven't spoken to my family in 2 years. The shock was immediate. What? But you guys seemed so close. Your mom's always posting about how proud she is of both her daughters. Both her daughters. Funny how I was included in the pride posts, but excluded from everything else. Wait, my friend Sarah messaged me after seeing Mom's latest Facebook post. If you haven't talked to them in 2 years, why is your mom posting about both daughters succeeding? Good question, Sarah. I screenshot Mom's post and sent it back to her. The post read, "So blessed to have 2 daughters making their mark on the world. Jenna's building her brand in LA and Renee's climbing the corporate ladder. Different paths, same values, same values." The woman who gave me a $10 gift card was claiming credit for my success. She's taking credit for your achievements while you're not even speaking? Sarah was incredulous. Welcome to my childhood, I replied. Word spread fast in our small hometown. People started connecting the dots. If Renee hadn't spoken to her family in 2 years, Why was Elaine Dalton posting about being a proud mother of two successful daughters? The questions multiplied. At the grocery store, at church, at the country club. People started asking Elaine directly, "How's Renee doing? We never see her anymore." "Oh, she's very private," Mom would say. "You know how she is, always been independent." But the questions kept coming. And with each awkward deflection, more people realized something was wrong with the Dalton family's perfect image. The foundation of their reputation was starting to crack, and they had no idea a much bigger earthquake was coming. The email came on a Wednesday morning in March. Weston University's alumni board wanted to feature me in their Success After Graduation magazine issue. "Your work with the Educational Access Data Project has helped over 3,000 underprivileged students find scholarships," the email read. "We'd love to share your story." I almost deleted it. Media attention was the last thing I wanted. But then I thought about those 3,000 students, kids like me who had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. I said yes. The interview was supposed to be about my charity work, but the journalist Maria Santos was good at her job. She dug deeper. "What motivated you to focus on helping overlooked students?" she asked. I paused. I could give her the safe answer, something about giving back to the community, but something in her eyes told me she wanted the real story. "Sometimes being overlooked is the greatest gift," I said. "It teaches you to see value in yourself before anyone else does." "That's a powerful statement. Can you elaborate?" And for the first time in 2 years, I told my story. Not all of it. I never mentioned my family by name, but I talked about growing up invisible, about working 3 jobs through college, about learning that your worth isn't determined by other people's recognition. The article went live on a Thursday. By Friday, it had been shared 50,000 times. By Monday, it was viral. The quote that everyone was sharing? "Sometimes being overlooked is the greatest gift. It teaches you to see value in yourself before anyone else does." People were calling it inspiring. Motivational accounts were turning it into graphics. It was showing up on Instagram stories across the country. But here's what made it explosive in my hometown. People recognized my last name. Dalton. "Wait," someone commented on the university's Facebook post. "Isn't this Elaine Dalton's daughter? The one who's never in any family photos?" I went to high school with the Dalton twins. I always wondered what happened to the quiet one. If she's so successful, why doesn't her family ever mention her? The questions that had been whispered in grocery store aisles were now being asked publicly online, and my family had no idea what was about to hit them. Within 48 hours of my interview going viral, Jenna's comment sections became war zones. "Where's your twin sister?" appeared under every post. "Why is Renee never in family photos if you're so close?" I read that article about the overlooked daughter. Sounds familiar. At first, Jenna tried to ignore it, but the comments kept coming. Her brand partnerships started asking questions. Sponsors don't like controversy, and the Dalton family was becoming very controversial. Mom went into damage control mode. She posted a throwback photo of me and Jenna from high school with the caption, "My girls have always supported each other. Renee prefers privacy, but we're so proud of both our daughters." The comments were brutal. "If you're so proud, why haven't you posted about her success? Convenient that you're suddenly proud after her article went viral. This feels like damage control?" Someone had screenshot my viral quote and posted it next to Mom's caption. The contrast was devastating. My words about being overlooked, right next to her claim about being proud. Then came the post that changed everything. A girl named Ashley from my high school shared a memory. "I remember Renee Dalton's graduation. Her parents gave her sister a trip to Europe and gave Renee a $10 gift card. I thought it was weird then. Makes sense now." That post got shared 500 times in our hometown Facebook groups. Suddenly, everyone was remembering things. The dance recitals where only Jenna got flowers. The family dinners where I sat quietly in the corner. The graduation party they threw for Jenna, but not for me. I always wondered why Renee seemed so sad, someone commented. Now I know why she disappeared after graduation. Those parents should be ashamed. Jenna's follower count started dropping. Her brand deals got canceled. The perfect family image that had built her entire career was crumbling, and they still had no idea that the worst was yet to come. The call came at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday. I was in my pajamas, reading a book, when my phone lit up with Mom on the caller ID. I stared at it for 4 rings before answering. Renee, her voice was shaking. Please, we need to talk. I said nothing. I know you're angry, she continued, but this has gone too far. People are saying terrible things about our family. Jenna lost 3 sponsorship deals today. Your father's colleagues are asking questions. Still nothing from me. The whole town is talking. They're making us sound like monsters. You know that's not fair. Isn't it? I finally said. She started crying. Actually crying. Renee, please. Can you post something nice about us? Tell people we're a loving family. Tell them we've always supported you. I almost laughed. After 2 years of silence, after 22 years of being invisible, she wanted me to save their reputation. You want me to lie, I said. I want you to help your family. Jenna's career is being destroyed. People are calling us abusive parents. This isn't who we are. Isn't it, though? We made mistakes, okay? But we love you. We've always loved you. You have a funny way of showing love. What do you want from us? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. We're sorry. Now please help us fix this. The desperation in her voice was something I'd never heard before. For the first time in my life, my mother needed me more than I needed her. Do you remember what you wrote on that graduation card? I asked. Silence. You told me to stay grounded and grateful. You said it would teach me a valuable lesson. Renee. You were right. It did teach me a lesson. It taught me that some people will never see your worth, no matter how hard you try. It taught me that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away. So what are you saying? I'm saying I learned to stay grounded and grateful, Mom. I'm grateful for the lesson, and I'm staying grounded in my decision. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I turned it off. Some lessons, once learned, can never be unlearned. A week after Mom's desperate phone call, Dad showed up at my apartment. I almost didn't recognize him through the peephole. Dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled shirt, hair uncombed. This wasn't the polished Gregory Dalton who'd dismissed my achievements for 22 years. Renee, please, just 5 minutes. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. You look tired, Dad. We all are. He ran his hands through his hair. This whole situation has gotten out of hand. Your mother hasn't slept in days. Jenna moved back home after losing her apartment lease. The neighbors won't even make eye contact with us. That sounds hard. It is hard, and it's not fair. We're not the monsters people are making us out to be. I leaned against my door frame. What do you want from me? I want my daughter back. I want our family back. Which daughter? The one you ignored for 22 years, or the one you're suddenly interested in now that you need something? His face crumpled. We never ignored you. We had different ways of showing love. Different ways. I almost smiled. You mean giving Jenna $15,000 and giving me 10 was your way of showing love? That was about teaching you values, about not spoiling you like we did with Jenna. So you admit you spoiled Jenna? That's not what I meant. Dad, stop. Just stop. I looked at this broken man on my doorstep. You didn't prepare me for life. You ignored me. And now that ignoring me has consequences, suddenly you want to fix things. We can fix this. We can be a family again. You're right, I said softly. You did teach me something valuable. Hope flickered in his eyes. You taught me that I don't need your approval to succeed. You taught me that I'm stronger than I ever knew. The hope died. Thank you for that lesson, Dad. I closed the door. The email came 3 days later. The subject line read, "I'm sorry." It was from Jenna. Renee, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this. I've been in therapy since everything started falling apart, and I'm finally seeing things clearly. You were right about everything. Mom and Dad did pit us against each other. They made me feel like if I wasn't perfect, they'd love you more. Every time you succeeded at something, they'd remind me that I needed to work harder to stay special. That Europe trip? It wasn't really a reward. It was a performance. They wanted me to post about it, to show everyone what amazing parents they were. I was their trophy, not their daughter. But you know what the worst part is? I knew what they were doing to you was wrong. I saw how they dismissed your achievements. I watched you work 3 jobs while I got everything handed to me. And I said nothing. I was scared that if I stood up for you, they'd stop loving me too. I know that's not an excuse. I know I was a coward. But I was so terrified of losing their approval that I let them destroy my relationship with my own twin sister. The girl who used to share everything with me, who used to be my best friend before our parents made us competitors. I miss you, Renee. I miss having a sister. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I needed you to know that I see it now. I see how wrong we all were. I'm trying to rebuild my life without their approval. It's scary, but I think it's the only way I'll ever be happy. I hope someday you can forgive me. Not for them, but for us. Love, Jenna. I stared at that email for an hour before responding with 2 words. I forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it definitely doesn't mean going back. 6 months later, I received a call that changed everything again. Ms. Dalton, this is Rebecca Chen from the National Education Foundation. You've been selected for our Excellence in Data Reform Award. The award came with a $50,000 grant and a live televised interview on the morning show America Rising. My work helping underprivileged students had caught national attention. The irony wasn't lost on me. The girl who'd been invisible her whole life was about to be on national television. The interview was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. I wore a navy blue blazer, professional, confident, nothing like the quiet girl who'd once begged for scraps of attention. "Tell us about your journey," the host, Amanda Rivers, said, as cameras rolled live across the country. I shared my story carefully. I talked about growing up feeling overlooked, about learning to find value in myself, about turning that pain into purpose. You've mentioned being overlooked. Can you elaborate on that? Sometimes the people closest to you can't see your worth, I said, looking directly into the camera. They're so focused on what they think success looks like that they miss the real thing happening right in front of them. And how did that shape your mission? It taught me that every child deserves to be seen. Every achievement deserves recognition. Every dream deserves support, regardless of how quiet the dreamer might be. The interview lasted 12 minutes. Within an hour, clips were trending on social media. But here's what made it explosive. Viewers in my hometown recognized me immediately. The comments section filled with people connecting the dots. "This is the Dalton girl whose family ignored her. Remember that graduation gift card story? Her parents must be watching this, realizing what they lost." Local news picked up the story. Hometown girl wins national award after family estrangement. The article detailed everything: the graduation gifts, the disappearance, the viral interview. By evening, the Dalton family name was trending for all the wrong reasons. Mom's charity board asked for her resignation. Dad's firm partners started distancing themselves. Their social circle evaporated overnight. The girl they'd made invisible had become impossible to ignore, and the whole world was watching. 1 year later, I stood on a stage in downtown Boston, looking out at 200 young people who'd been overlooked, underestimated, or ignored. "Welcome to the first Grounded Grace mentorship program," I said into the microphone. Behind me, projected on a giant screen, was our logo, a coffee cup with 10 written on it. The same $10 gift card that had broken my heart was now the symbol of my greatest achievement. "Some of you might wonder about our logo," I continued. "It represents the moment I learned that other people's opinions of your worth mean absolutely nothing." The audience was silent, hanging on every word. 3 years ago, someone gave me a $10 gift card and told me it would teach me gratitude. They were right. It did teach me gratitude. Gratitude for the strength I found when I stopped waiting for their approval. I looked out at these kids, scholarship recipients, first-generation college students, young people who'd been told they weren't enough. You might be the quiet one in your family, the one whose achievements get overlooked, the one who works twice as hard for half the recognition. I'm here to tell you something important. That's not your weakness. That's your superpower. Applause filled the room. When you learn to see your own worth, when you stop needing other people's validation, when you build something beautiful from the pieces of your broken expectations, that's when you become unstoppable. As I spoke, I noticed movement in the back of the auditorium. 3 figures slipping in quietly, trying not to be seen. Mom, Dad, and Jenna. They sat in the very last row, tears streaming down their faces as they watched me address a room full of young people who saw me as their inspiration. I didn't acknowledge them. I didn't change my speech. I just continued talking to the kids who needed to hear that being overlooked doesn't mean being worthless. After the event, as people filed out, my family approached slowly. "Renee," Mom whispered, "we're so proud of you." I looked at them, really looked at them. They seemed smaller somehow, older, broken. "I know," I said simply, because I'd finally learned the difference between earning pride and deserving it. Today, that $10 Starbucks gift card sits framed on my office wall, right next to my National Education Award. Visitors always ask about it. "Why do you keep a gift card on your wall?" I tell them it's the most valuable gift I ever received, not because of what it was, but because of what it taught me. It taught me that waiting for other people's approval is a prison you build for yourself. It taught me that the people who should love you unconditionally sometimes love you least. It taught me that sometimes the cruelest gift becomes your greatest motivation. My parents tried to teach me gratitude with that card. They succeeded, just not in the way they intended. I'm grateful I learned early that my worth isn't determined by their recognition. I'm grateful I discovered my strength before I wasted more years seeking their approval. I'm grateful they showed me exactly who they were, so I could decide who I wanted to be. Grounded Grace now operates in 12 cities. We've helped over 10,000 young people find scholarships, mentorship, and most importantly, their own sense of worth. Every graduation ceremony we host, I tell the same story. About a girl who got a $10 gift card and a lecture about staying humble. About how that girl learned the difference between being humble and being humiliated. My family and I have a relationship now. It's different, careful, boundaried, honest. They understand that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, that love doesn't erase accountability. Jenna and I text sometimes. She's building a life based on her own values now, not theirs. It's messy and imperfect, but it's real. As for my parents, they learned that the child they overlooked became the one they needed most. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's becoming everything they said you'd never be, and doing it without their help. If you've ever been the overlooked child, the invisible sibling, or the one who had to earn love that should have been freely given, this story is for you. Drop a comment sharing your own story of turning pain into power. Hit subscribe and join our community of people who refuse to stay invisible. Because your story matters, your voice deserves to be heard, and your worth was never up for debate.